What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the King's Court with me, Vincent Miracle, for Fansided.com, GoldenGateSports.com. And whether you're on the Fansided app right now or you're watching me on YouTube and you're a great subscriber, I want to thank you for making me a part of your day. Now, the last video I did, we talked about the 5 things the Kings need to do to have a successful second half of the season. And since that time on Monday, the trade deadline has passed. We have a couple of new players. And, we've got to see the Kings play the Golden State Warriors. I know a lot of you guys want to talk about the players, and I'm going to get to that. And, of course, I'm going to get to that. But the one thing I got to talk about is that Golden State Warriors game. And I don't know if anyone else saw it the way that I did, but I just saw a lackluster performance from beginning to end. I know that you have to give them the Kings a little bit of a break, but at the same time, the Warriors don't get a break for this. It's been All-Star weekend. You had time off. The players are maybe a little rusty. You get out to a slow start, but the Kings came back. They had their little ways back and forth with the team, but I really didn't feel, the energy, the real want to win that game. And maybe that's because they're missing their big man DeMarcus Cousins. Maybe it's because they lost Marcus Thornton, but the way I see it is you got to find a way to win. You got to have the heart to win. And now, of course, I can see that they were in the game to play. They're looking to win the game, but I don't know. From beginning to end, I just felt like there was a lackluster performance on the Kings' end. The Warriors came out and basically almost did everything they really wanted. I know, Steph Curry had an okay game. He started out really hot. Klay Thompson was pretty good throughout the whole game, but the fact that the Kings just came out so sluggish, and it seemed like that the whole game, even when they started coming back, they cut it down to single digits. It really just wasn't, a game where I saw that the Kings were really going to start making that push and take control. And, again, that could just because they lost their man Marcus Thornton, and DeMarcus Cousins still isn't back yet, and he's expected to play. I believe tonight, yeah, he's expected to play. So maybe that changes, but if they're trying to make that push to show that they are ready to take that next step, it really has to start in every game. You can't take one night off and expect to be a team that can have more wins than losses going into the second half. And I predicted that they're going to have 32 wins. They have 18 wins right now. So having the 18 wins, they have to make, I believe, 14 more wins to go. They still have 14 more wins. There's 28 games left. They just played 20. They had 29 and they have 28. It's the Warriors game. They play tonight, and they need to find a way to win. Cousins is expected to play. I expect wins from this team, and that's because of the progression of showing that they're going to move forward. And in those 5 steps that I said that they're going to have to do, I stand by them. If you want Rudy Gay to stay, which I know this franchise does. I mean, it's been a long time since the Sacramento Kings had a good, I would say a top-tier small forward in Rudy Gay. And to lose him in the offseason and he has $19 million on the table is going to be, I would say kind of disappointing because Rudy Gay will be walking away from $19 million. I really don't see it happening, but if he sees that this team is not going to start winning, why stay for the time that you're there? He's about to be turning 28. That's not super old, but it's not really young either. So he's kind of on that verge of making those decisions. Now, we don't know if maybe Ron Adive and all of them, Pete D'Alessandro, have already talked with Rudy Gay about an extension after the next year, but as of right now, walking away from $19 million is kind of a big thing. And if you don't show that you can start winning, $19 million becomes very, very small in a player's mind, especially if he can go to a winning team or a team that wants him, that can be in contention and, get a smaller amount but still decent sized amount of money for the next few years. And if any of you guys think that this Kings team would be good without Rudy Gay, you are wrong. I'm sorry to say it. If you had to choose between Isaiah Thomas and DeMarcus, this is what I said in the last video too. If you had to choose between Isaiah Thomas and DeMarcus Cousins or Rudy Gay and DeMarcus Cousins, you're going to choose Rudy Gay every single time. So that's really my take on the Warriors game and really what stepping forward into the second half is. And Now, yes, it is time to get into the trade deadline, where the Sacramento Kings made the trade to trade off Marcus Thornton for Jason Terry and Reggie Evans. First off, congratulations to Pete D'Alessandro, because you did not have to give up a pick, which I thought was really going to have to happen. I know it wasn't going to be a first-round pick, but I thought it was going to be a second-round pick, which I really didn't want to do, but hey, you didn't do it. I wouldn't do it if I was him, and he didn't do it. He stuck to his guns. He just gave up a perfect swap of Marcus Thornton and Jason Terry. And what have I been saying the Kings need for a long time now? The Kings need veteran leadership, and they need defense. And what they get in this trade? They got veteran leadership between both Reggie Evans and Jason Terry, and they got a defensive rebounding specialist in Reggie Evans. He's a rebounding specialist. That's what he does. He comes out there and brings that energy. You know, if you guys like Quincy Acy, which I know a lot of fans do, he's a great fan favorite. He's a great player to have on the team. He's an energy guy that comes in and just, you know, never stops. His motor just keeps running. He grabs a bunch of rebounds. And I say in about 2 to 5 years, in that time span, he can turn into a Reggie Evans-esque type player, which would be great to have on the Kings. And then you have DeMarcus Cousins, another rebounding monster, with Quincy Acy, an up-and-coming rebounding energy guy. And then you have Reggie Evans, who can grab you some rebounds. And then you move on to Jason Terry. And, you know, there's rumors going around that he doesn't want to be in Sacramento just as much as, you know, and, you know, as a veteran would. You know, he doesn't want to be in Sacramento. They don't seem like they're winning right now. And then you also have a quote from Coach Michael Malone saying that, you know, he might not ever see the court. Is that a bad thing? No. The reason why I say that's not a bad thing is the Kings need veteran leadership, and it gives room for Ray McCallum to get minutes. It gives room for not really Carl Landry, but in that perspective to see, you know, Ray McCallum get his time on the court, and Jason Terry will be that guy to coach him up. You know, he has a great connection with Isaiah Thomas, both Seattle guys. They both did the Adidas commercial because they're both sponsored by Adidas. You know, Jason Terry has swagger. He has that, like I keep saying over and over again, veteran leadership, and he has a ring, so he knows what it's like to get there, the hard work you have to put in. And what I mean by he has the swagger is, do you guys remember in that campaign when Dallas went to the finals against the Miami Heat, he tattooed a championship trophy on his arm and said, "I'm getting one of these." Against the Miami Heat, the big three, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, Chris Bosh. Those three, it did not matter to him. He tattooed it. He said, "I'm going to be getting one of these." He got it that year. That is crazy. That's swagger that this team needs. The IQ of Jason Terry is actually pretty high, whether you guys believe it or not. Jason Terry is a good player. I see a lot of fans on Twitter, on the Kings app, that don't like Jason Terry very much, and that's okay. You know, you have your own opinion, you have your own things, but Jason Terry is a great asset to have on the Kings, whether he stays for a long time or whether he goes. And remember, he's a Sacramento King. If you're a Sacramento Kings fan, you got to root your team no matter who's on the floor. Alright, so we're getting to that time of the video where I'm going to start answering your guys' questions. I did a 30-minute video last time. It got views. I started getting subscribers. I love the fact that you guys were all viewing it and everything. But it seemed like it was a bit too long. So, keep bringing in your criticisms. Let me know what you guys think of these videos. Excuse me. If there's anything you guys think that needs to be improved, always write it down. I love criticism. Be as harsh as you need to. That's fine. Because the more you guys let me know how to get better, the better the videos will become. So again, this is the part of the video where I'll be answering all your guys' questions and topics. So if you have a question or a topic that you want to get on the show, you can email me at kingscourtpodcast@gmail.com, or you can tweet me at VMCenter. That's VM and then center on Twitter. And if you're on the Kings app, you can go ahead and see me on the Kings app, and I will usually write down a topic saying, go ahead and leave me your topics, Kings Show, to tomorrow or something like that. That's exactly what I did this time. So again, email is kingscourtpodcast@gmail.com, or Twitter handle is at VMCenter. And don't forget to subscribe to the show. So let's get into these questions here. The first question comes from, excuse me, if it'll come up here. There it is. The first question comes up from Justin Costello. Will Gay stay, and pros and cons of the trade? Will Gay stay? Really, like I said in the beginning of this show, it really depends on how good this team does in the second half of the season. You know, they need to show that they can win. Rudy Gay needs to be able to take more shots than Isaiah Thomas, and I said that in the very first video, and that's one of the 5 things. He needs to become one of those guys that will be getting the ball and shows his importance to the team. And, you know, it will really depend on the wins and losses of the second half of the season for the Kings. The pros and cons of the trade, you know, the cons, you know, they're I don't really see a lot of the cons. You know, Coach Michael Malone has already stated that Jason Terry might not see the floor. You know, he's kind of been injured on and off this season, and it really will show more of what Ray McCallum can do. So the cons, I guess, would say you lose Marcus Thornton. But, I mean, if you weren't a Marcus Thornton fan, that really wasn't a con. And then I guess the pros would be you get the veteran leadership and you get money that you actually didn't have before. And what I mean by that is, let's say you look in your wallet right now, you have $10. I give you $20. That's $20 you didn't have before. So Marcus Thornton, yeah, he was traded away. The Kings got saved money by giving him away. And you can say, oh, it wasn't that much, but let's say it was, I'm going to guesstimate, I believe it was around $760 or $960 something thousand, but that's $962,000 that the Kings didn't have before. And going into one of the off seasons, one of the biggest off seasons where there's going to be a free agent market out there for the Kings to look at, the more money you have, the better, because the Kings aren't one of those small market places where teams are looking at and saying, oh, hey, you know, this could be a place where it works. No, the Kings aren't that at all. The Kings need to have money, and again, a trade that I'm not really going to get into, I wasn't going to get into, but because I brought this up, it kind of just dropped in my mind, was the Roger Mason Jr. trade, where the Kings gave up a very protected second-round pick to the Miami Heat, and in return they get Roger Mason Jr., who they waived, and then they get cash on top of that. That's more money that they didn't have before. They basically gave up nothing because of how protected that second-round pick is, and you know, it just shows that I feel that Pete D'Alessandro knows what he's doing. I really don't see a con to this trade. You get what the Kings have been needing in veteran leadership, defense, rebounding, and you save money. So I don't really see what the cons are in this trade. But if you guys see it, go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section, and you guys can talk about it amongst yourselves and let me know what the cons are that you think in your mind could be from this trade. And Justin Costello, thank you for your question. And the next question comes from Luke Dean, 22. How do you think Jimmer will do on his likely new team next year? I guess it really just depends on where he goes. I mean, that's kind of a very, very early question to ask. He will be on a new team next year. I don't see him coming back for Sacramento, but it really would depend on where he goes. I mean, if he went to Utah, maybe it'd be really good. You know, it's a place where a bunch of fans love him in Utah, and he can get a slight role there because they're still up and coming. But I mean, if he went to Miami, if he went to the Pacers, you know, his role would be so minimal. You probably wouldn't even see him on the court anymore. So I guess it's really too early to say. It just depends on where he goes. And so Luke Dean, 22, thank you for your question. One King 909 asks, due to the trade, what strengths does Terry and Evans bring to the organization? I kind of went on about this in the beginning of the show, and I knew these questions were going to come up because the trade line just happened, and you got these new players. But Jason Terry, I'll say it again, he brings veteran leadership, he brings swagger, he brings the IQ the team needs, and Reggie Evans is a rebound specialist who will bring you energy every time he's on the floor. And you know, it's an argument that could be made that he can start over Jason Thompson, in my opinion. Jason Thompson, he's not a prolific scorer. He can't score at will in the post. He misses shots very close to the basket. And, you know, he still has that IQ mindset that sometimes where he has a wide open shot, he has to drive in, and that's usually where it gets a charge. So having Reggie Evans in there who doesn't need the ball, doesn't look to score, kind of can just be another guy down low to grab a rebound, and just be another body out there to set screens. That's what Reggie Evans can do. So those are the strengths from the two. And thank you, One King 909, for your question. Weston Weimer asks, "What's the next step the Kings need to take? Where do we go from here?" The next step the Kings need to take is finishing games, starting out games faster, on a faster pace, and then keeping that motor going. You know, the Kings, you can just see when they play. Sometimes they feel like they have the on-off switch, and they really don't. They need to come out as if they're already losing a game. They're down 10 points. Even when the score is 0-0, they're down 10 points. That's the mindset the Kings should be having. And to take the next step, you need to start winning games. That's where they go from here, is they need to start winning games. And defense needs to start getting better as of now to show that there's signs of improvement, because the Kings need Rudy Gay. The Kings need Rudy Gay. I'm sorry, that's what they need, and that's what you need to prove to Rudy Gay and to basically the whole entire NBA that you're here for business and you're here to start winning games. So thank you, Weston Weimer, for your question. And the last question comes from a strong loyal fan of the show, and that's from King Andes Ryan, who says, "What do you think of the trade that brought Jason Terry and Reggie Evans to the Kings?" Again, it's one of those things, you know. It's one of those things where it's absolutely what the Kings needed. It gives the Kings money that they didn't have before. You know, it fills the voids of some of the things that the Kings needed. Again, I've stated it plenty of times over and over again. The Kings needed a higher IQ. They get that in Jason Terry. They needed a guy who could come in and grab rebounds and be a defensive stopper and get in the other guys' heads. You get that in Reggie Evans. You get a guy who can still fill in Marcus Thornton's role off the bench, because that's what he's done so great in his career, is be a six-man in Jason Terry. And then let's say Jason Terry doesn't play, you give minutes to Ray McCallum, which I know the Kings organization has high hopes for, especially going into next season. So that is the show. Thank you guys for all watching. Again, if you're not a subscriber already, go ahead and go down to that button, click subscribe, email all your questions to me at kingscourtpodcast@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter at VMCenter. And again, thank you guys for making me a part of your day. Fansided.com, GoldenGateSports.com. Thank you for sponsoring the show. And until next time, Kings fans, which will be on Monday, bye-bye.